Straight Talk with your host Reggie B. Come on, let's all join in. Free your voice, it's your choice, alright here. Oh, simply straight talk.
Ugh. Why is there never a good comedy on? I mean, seriously. When you need one, too. Alright, let me call Melissa.
Hey, Miss Lady. I was about to call you. What are you up to?
Nothing, girl. I'm just sitting here trying to find something on TV, too.
Hey! I know you hear me! And don't think I don't recognize your stupid ass from the parking lot. I tell you what, cut me off again and see what happens.
Ooh, is everything okay? If you're driving, I can...
Oh, well, man up and leap into the sun so I can light that ass up. Standing down there looking like a crackhead version of King Gristle Jr. from Trolls. Okay, I'm back. I'm walking in the house now. You know I can multitask.
Did he cut you off while you were parking or driving coming home?
He sure did. It was like 4 or 5 months ago. Maybe a year ago. It was somewhere around the time frame Reggie came with me to pick up my new TV. But anyway, I knew I would see him again.
Wow. Honey, I know people say I'm quick to tell someone off, but you and your road rage is on another level.
Well, anytime someone brings that side of us out, clearly they had it coming.
Preach, my sister, preach. Hey, do you mind if I ask you a question? And look, it may be personal, so if you don't feel like sharing, it's cool.
Angelique, I have told you about that. You know we are too close for that.
Okay, boss lady Melissa. Look, just so you know, I'm asking this with love, but why was James... Oh, and it just turns my stomach to say his name. I literally feel like I'm going to throw up. I can feel it. But why did Bad Breath make all those comments about you needing a place to stay? And I guess he was referencing something like money for the holidays.
I do have some things going on. Well, actually, it's been one thing after another. Business has not been great with the whole pandemic thing going on. My customer purchases have really decreased. I had to lay off some of my employees. I'm struggling to maintain the rent for the office space I leased.
Oh, wow, girl. Look, I'm sorry. Why didn't you say anything? You know I would help you, and so would Reggie. I mean, how is Tyson doing with all of this going on?
I know, but I didn't want to push my problems on your table or Reggie's. We all have so much going on right now. Tyson and I are making it, but we are not on the best of terms. He lost his job a couple of months ago, and having to be totally reliant on me is starting to get to him. He hasn't said anything, but I can tell.
Men. Ugh. You know what? Right now, I have nothing good to say about them. Yeah, okay. I need to push myself past that thought. Is there anything I can do to help? I mean, do you need any help with your rent, for your home, or anything?
I'm good for now, but some days I just want to run away from everything.
Please stop talking like that. That's crazy talk. You have people that care about you. I'm one of them. Now, that guy in the parking lot, he may have a different opinion about you.
But I bet he'll stay out of my way the next time he sees me or my car. Listen, I appreciate you and thank you so much. You really are a great friend to me.
No, we are great friends to each other. I mean, have you spoken to Reggie? I wanted to call him, but I guess I just haven't been in the best of moods.
I haven't, and it's kind of strange. Do you think... Never mind, that would not make any sense.
No. Do I think what? No, come on. You might as well say it. It's on the airwaves now.
I was going to say, or actually I was about to ask you, do you think he's becoming more loyal to the guys and maybe he's playing us? Hello to every one of our Simply Straight Talk listeners. Are you ready to free your mind and free your voice? Well, you're listening to the right podcast. So let's get this real talk started with your host, Reggie Maddox.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Simply Straight Talk Show. This is your host, Reggie Maddox, man, and today, well, before we get into today's topic, how disrespectful of me not to say thank you. Thank you to all of the listeners. Thank you for everybody for supporting, sharing the show. I have been reading your comments, and once again, man, I always check out what you say, and I really appreciate the feedback, man, negative, positive. I want to know what you think, so I really appreciate it. And I'm so happy that you guys are loving the intros of the show. So thank you so much for sticking with us. And I can't give enough shout outs, man, to everybody. And I'm saying the show is doing really well. So thank you to those in Ohio, those in Texas, California, Virginia. I think I forgot Virginia the last time, man. But thank you for showing love to the show. Also, I definitely want to say thank you to London. Okay, London, shout out, love to you. All right. So thank you to everybody, man, wherever you are, for listening to the show and being a continued supporter of this content. I hope to continue to bring you great content. As you know, Angelique and Melissa are more involved with the show, and I'm so happy about that. They're still doing the intros. I hope you guys love it. Based on the feedback on the website, you guys love the intros. You love the story that's going on. So we're definitely going to keep that going. But now, let me get that right. I'm putting words together that don't make a word. Now, let's get started with today's show. Today, we're going to ask the question, are relationships bad or are people impatient? Now, we want to get into this topic because there are a lot of comments and things out there being said about relationships. You got men making their opinions, women making their opinion. And I just think that it's a good question to kind of dive into. You know what I'm saying? Are relationships bad or are people just impatient? Now, we can't have this discussion without addressing the foundation of how people see and establish relationships. Now, this includes the mindset a person has or develops about relationships, because a lot of people are publicly sharing their views on relationships. From what I have seen, mostly people are telling you why they cannot find somebody, what's wrong with men or what's wrong with women. They're telling you why they're single, why it's best to date a woman of a certain race, or what race of woman to avoid. Then there are blogs, okay, about relationships, social media profiles about men that tell you about men, but they actually are operated by women. Also, the rich and famous now have more say-so and influence on relationships because, they're actually affecting the criteria a person should. They'll put it like this. The rich and famous are setting the criteria for what people think they should have for choosing a mate. Now, it's easy to say, find a man that could buy you a $20,000 purse. Or telling a woman, if I was your man, you wouldn't have to work. Well, when you have money and you're already established, that's an easy thing to say when you're with somebody that's already rich or you're rich. But if you're working and you're pursuing your goals, you may not be able to do that right now. Buying a $20,000 purse, I'm going to tell you, well, I'm rich or not, it ain't happening. Okay. So anyway, but money does bring arrogance from the rich and famous when it comes to advice in relationships. It really does. It's like people who are rich and famous want to put themselves on this pedestal, and it's a materialistic pedestal, and people are buying into it. Now, we have a lot of information circulating about relationships, but we have to keep in mind that all information, thoughts, advice, on social media, and all that type stuff, man, is not in your best interest to apply it to your life or your mindset. And honestly, there are some things I'm going to say today that you can say, wow, that fits me. And certain things you're going to say, that don't really fit me. So we have to learn how to take the best of the advice or the information that we are given and understand what part of that advice is realistic, what part of that advice actually can help me meet the right person or better my relationship, or be honest, what part of that advice that somebody's telling you is straight up garbage, because a lot of it is garbage. So we have to be mindful about that. But before we get too deep into this, let's break down some of these myths that we have about relationships. Now, women and men of certain races make better mates while others do not. I hear this a lot. And black women are often the ones that are the last chosen or the last selected as the ones to avoid when it comes to relationships. I don't agree with that, because you know what? You can find men of any race, women of any race, that you might say, wow, I don't want to be in a relationship with her or him, because it's an individual thing. You cannot categorize a group of men or a group of women and say, avoid this group, this type of women or these type of men based on their race, because you feel they won't make a good mate in a relationship. That's why you have to get to know a person. So please stop saying that, this race does this better or this race does that better. No, it's that individual. It's not that race of women or that race of men. It's that individual. You have to base it on the individual. Because if you eliminate an entire race saying, I don't date this race of women or this race of men, then you're probably missing out on the person that you're meant to be with. Because you can find bad men, bad women. You can find bad women, bad men. It's a melting pot out there, both. So stop doing that. Next, sexually, women and men of certain races are more ambitious in bed than others. Once again, that is based on individual. You have some women that are black that are very ambitious, very freaky, very want to get into it. Then you got some that are reserved. You have some women from the Indian culture that are very freaky, want to do it. Then some that are reserved. And it's like I said, it's all about the individual. You cannot categorize a whole group of people or gender based on the fact that you feel that you have heard that this race. Now, unless you dated every woman or every woman of every particular race, then you can make that. But no one has. Because even then, you're going to find out that there's a difference between each individual woman. There's a difference between each individual man. Okay? So once again, you cannot categorize people or a gender by their race, saying that which one is more sexually ambitious versus the others. Next myth. All men want and need to be nurtured the same as children. I have been hearing this so much, and I totally disagree with it. Now, I think men and women want to be nurtured in some type of way, but not as children. Men and women want to feel like the person they're with has a certain level of care and love for them. But to say that, men want to be nurtured as children, like you nurture a child, I mean, that's sort of an arrogant thing to say. And also, in my personal opinion, I think it's a stupid thing to say. Because the way you nurture a child is not the same way you nurture an adult. Because emotionally, we all need to be nurtured in some way. But more so, when you're older, you need to be emotionally supported. When you're a child, you need to be emotionally nurtured. So men and women of adult age need to be emotionally supported. So I think we need to get that clear. And I heard this one lady talking about, men, you have to nurture them like children. And I'm listening to her. I'm like, are you serious right now? But don't fall into that. Understand that you cannot be in an adult relationship. And if you feel like you have to treat your spouse like a child, there is a serious problem. But if you understand that you need emotional support from your mate, if you need emotional support from your partner, then understand you are getting emotional support. And there is a big difference between emotional support and nurturing somebody. Okay, men and women want different things in relationships. Now, here's where I differ. Here's where I disagree. Men and women want the same thing. Here's the problem. You're just meeting the wrong people. That's the thing. Men and women want the absolute same thing. But you got to meet the person that's in line with the specifics of what you want. Because everybody wants love. Everybody wants respect. Everybody wants communication. Everybody wants to be loved for who they are. Everybody wants their goal, their dreams, their emotions to be supported. And nobody wants to be taken for like, well, what can I do for you? Everybody wants an affection. Everybody wants it to be supported. They want loyalty. Everybody wants the same thing, but they may want it at different levels. They may have a different standard. Like for some people, affection is at the top of their list, while other people, communication may be at the top of the list. For some people, ambition, like what are your ambitions, your goals? I want to know that. That's at the top of the list. And then some people, loyalty. So you got to understand, what is that person's agenda? Like, what is their list? What is their criteria for what they need? So men and women want the same thing. We don't want anything different. We all want the same thing. You just got to understand at what level that person wants. Like on their list, what is number 1 and what is number 10? You got to understand that. Okay. Successful relationships require a person to already be established. Basically, what I'm saying with that one is most relationships that people feel like if he doesn't have a house, he doesn't have a 2 or 3 cars, and he doesn't have a job paying, 6 figures, then he's not ready for a relationship. That's what it takes for a relationship to be successful. And that is so wrong on so many levels. And the same would apply to a woman. A man putting that same standard on a woman, that she has to own this or she can't be this or she can't do that. She has to have this. When you're putting materialistic values on your relationship, then also that means you're not looking for something to build. You're not trying to establish something with that person. You want something ready-made. So relationships that are already set, where finances are blowing through the roof and everybody got all the money and all the houses, that does not guarantee a happy relationship. So don't get so caught up on the money side. I'm not saying that you should be mindful of the fact that, okay, the person needs to be financially responsible. The person needs to have some accountability or goals of where they're trying to get to or what they're trying to do. But don't feel like if that person don't have a 30,000 square foot house that the relationship can't work. All right. So I just want to touch, those are just some of the myths that are not all of them. Now, there are definitely more myths, but I just wanted to speak on some of the most common that I hear, because we live in a day and age of ready-made, and people want relationships to fall in place faster than the time it takes to brew a cup of coffee in a Keurig coffee maker. They do. People want relationships right now. It's like, hey, what's your name? Oh, okay, boom, we are in a relationship. This is going to be happy. We're going to be successful. And I need you to start doing this. You know what I'm saying? People want to jump from as soon as you make the initial eye contact, already they're expecting husband or wife privileges. And I am one, let me tell you right now, as a single male, I can tell you, I have different levels. There's one for like we're dating, then there's fiance, and then there's wife. And I think a lot of us are giving away that husband and wife privileges way too soon in the start of a relationship. There are certain things that you should reserve for your husband or for your wife, and you're giving it away too soon. But then you're complaining that you're losing everything. Now, what we want to do is we want to get into what is going on in the dating world. We want to jump into what is going on in the dating world. So let's start with dating, from speed dating to online dating to out and about dating, meet and greet rather. Well, basically we're going to talk about how people meet each other. Now, first up is speed dating. I want to talk about, a couple ways how people meet each other, because I just want to set it up so when we come back to the second part of the show, you kind of understand the foundation of how people are meeting. And right now, especially with the pandemic and the COVID, online dating is a big thing. Now, speed dating, before we get to the online dating, now for those of you who don't know, I'm pretty sure a lot of people have heard about it. Speed dating is when a group of singles gather at like a cafe or some type of similar venue, and each person wears like a name tag or nickname. They have a scorecard and, with their personality traits. Now, they are paired up and that's when their first date begins, once they get paired up. Now, for approximately 4 minutes of conversation, okay, well, after 4 minutes of conversation with the first person they're paired up with, a bell is rung. The men will proceed to the next lady that they're scheduled to meet. And another 4 minutes of speed dating begin. So basically, the speed date is you got 4 minutes to sit there and talk with that person. Now, the ladies will remain at their table. The ladies don't move around. Only the men go from table to table because they have been paired up with certain tables to go to. Now, following each speed date, the people who participate, they mark on their card whether they would have an interest in meeting that person again. Now, if there is a mutual interest is noted on the card, that means that the person you have picked and they have also picked you, the organizers of the event or the speed dating event, they provide each party with the other person's contact information. So that's basically speed dating. Now, online dating, it varies based on the website, but they all pretty much follow the same principles. Now, some will allow you to openly view profiles, while others, will pair you with their assessment of what they feel is your best match. Some of them will give you a list of questions to answer, and some of them just give you random people. The simplest sites just say, well, swipe left or swipe right if you like the person. Now, meeting someone is up to you by sending messages. Now, some of them, they will charge you for the messages, and some of them have a call service where where your number is blocked, but you get like this fake number that they can call and you can talk to each other until you feel safe giving out your real phone number and information. Now, out and about is just real simple. You're out, you're at the grocery store, you're at the bank, you're going to work, and somebody approaches you because they're interested in you and you guys exchange information and you want to see where it goes from there. Now, here's the thing. Based on a person's dating experiences, it's only natural that they're going to develop their own beliefs. So whether you try online dating, whether you try speed dating, or whether you just met somebody out and about, it's going to have an impact on how you see relationships. So this brings us back to our original topic of discussion. Are relationships bad or people impatient? And we're going to dig more into that when we come back. Y'all thought I was going to keep going. Right after this break, we'll be right back, man. And we really are going to dig into this because I really want to have everybody. I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear your feedback, especially if you're in the dating world. What do you think about this? So y'all stick with it, man. We'll be right back right after this break.
We'll be right back. So keep it locked here with your favorite radio talk show. Hello, Simply Straight Talk family. If you are enjoying this episode, at the end of the show, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. And why not share this with a friend? Also, visit our blog at newlifenewmind.com, where you can find additional articles on more great topics. Stay tuned. The show will continue right after this message.
We're back with the conversation starter and the voice that works harder. Your host, Reggie.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the second half of the show. Man, today we're talking about, are relationships bad or are people impatient? Because, we live in a society today where everything has to be microwave ready. It needs to come already packaged. You want to pop it in for a few seconds and start chowing down. That is the mindset that a lot of people have with relationships. People are no longer, I don't want to say people, but some people are in the mindset of, listen, I don't have time. I don't want to wait to have an established relationship. I don't want to build anything. I want you to bring it all to the table, and I want to sit down and eat off of everything that you built. Okay. And that goes for men and women. Okay. That's not just women saying that. Men are saying that as well. So that's why we're asking this question today. Are relationships bad? Because a lot of people are saying, oh, don't get in relationships. People will treat you bad. Everybody's bad mouthing and downing being in a relationship. Well, a lot of people, I keep saying everybody, a lot of people are downing being in a relationship. And that's not what the real problem is. Now, with so many people being negative about relationships, a lot of this, it has to come from their experiences, or maybe something that happened with their parent. They witnessed their parents go through. They witnessed their friends going through. Look at me. I got to start talking right again. Okay. So, but basically when we witness things or we experience things, especially when it comes to relationships, emotions are involved. It's only human that you're going to start to develop some type of mindset, be it positive or negative, about it. And when it comes to relationships, because the heart is involved, a lot of people do end up, kind of developing these negative, mindsets, these negative thoughts. So they really are down on relationships. So I want to talk about a couple things as we get into this conversation. But first, I want to ask you something, okay? I want to highlight 3 things. I might make it a 4 or 5. But anyway, y'all know the time limit when I'm doing this by myself. But expectations. And I know some of you may have heard this before. But what are your expectations for a first date? Do you have expectations of what that person should say or do throughout the date? Because I have heard people who say they went on a date with somebody, but he didn't say this, or he didn't come to the door and bring this. Or when I said this, she should have said this. I was expecting her to do this. I thought she would be more happy that I took her to this place, or we did that. And you always hear that from people when they talk about dating. Now, let's understand something. Nobody is a mind reader. And I think a lot of people, we watch so much television that we end up with these fantasies of what we want. A lot of people want these, sort of Disney World, dates. You know what I'm saying? Women want to feel like, wow, I was catered to and wow tonight. Men want to feel like, man, she respected me. She made me feel good about everything. I feel like she appreciated me taking her out. So when you have these expectations without the other person having the knowledge of your expectations, it creates conflict. And a person can end the date feeling like, I feel let down. I thought the date was going to be more. I don't know. He was nice. She was nice, but something just didn't quite go right. I kind of thought it was going to be like this, or we was going to do that. But the thing about it is, no one knows your expectations. And are your expectations realistic? That's the next thing. Are you giving someone a chance to understand what your expectations are? Or have you actually put your expectations on the table and say, listen, when I go out, I want to go here. I want to go here. I want to do this. The first date, I want to be at these places. Now, that gives the other person the option to say, you know what? I don't think that's a good first date choice. So I'm going to have to take a step back from this. Or they may say, well, how about we do this as an option and that later down the line if we decide that we want to go further. So what are your expectations when you meet somebody and you're going on a date? Have you actually consulted that other person and spoke about your expectations? Before you even go on the date, how many conversations did you really engage in to give that person an idea of what you like and what you want to do? And are you just jumping into the fact like, okay, I got her number, she got his number, so we're going to go on a date. But you haven't really spoken. But now you're going on this date with all these expectations, and both of you are feeling like, something didn't quite work out because you didn't communicate your expectations, or you had expectations the other person had no clue that you even had. Next, dating requirements. Now, dating requirements is when people say things like, oh, he has to take me to this type of restaurant or buy me this specific type of flower. Then I know he's the one for me. Or she has to say this when I do this. When I get out of this car, she's supposed to be like, oh, wow. You know what I'm saying? Or when I'm telling her about my status or my life, she should be so deeply involved. Maybe she's not a materialistic woman. Maybe she's not the type of woman that's really impressed by things, but she's more impressed by a person's mind. Maybe he's a guy that wants to give you those things and take you to these places or buy you that specific flower. But if he doesn't know that you like that certain flower, or if he doesn't know, or maybe he feels like, you know what? I really like you, don't want to get to know you, but let's start off right here and we'll get to that. So that's why I say when you have dating requirements, you got to be mindful that Are your requirements something that you really should be laying on your partner on a date, especially if it's the first date? Now, I understand that you've been dating for a while, you should get to know each other, but what about when a person's dating requirements hits another level? Because recently, a lady has said that, in order for a man to take me out and get the goods, y'all know what I'm talking about, the na-na, you know what I'm saying? So in order for a man to have sex with her, he has to buy her kids some food, and she specifically said a McDonald's Happy Meal. Now, some people say, oh, wow, well, if a man can't afford to pay, $5 for a Happy Meal, he shouldn't be taking me out. But it's the first date. Now, she was talking about the first date now, the first date. Now, on the first date, should she have disclosed that early and said, listen, would you mind stopping so we can get some McDonald's so I can bring it back to my daughter? Or should she just have disclosed that from the beginning and say, hey, on the way over, can you pick up some a Happy Meal, the 4 snacks, whatever, and bring it for my daughter that we can go about our date? Should he be responsible for doing that on the first date? Should that be a first date requirement? But then again, once men know that, some men may say, well, you know what? I'm just going to bring the Happy Meal on over because I'm putting the down payment. So we already know your daughter getting the Happy Meal, I'm getting the panties. You know what I'm saying? So you got to be mindful about stuff like that. When you're setting dating requirements, are your dating requirements actually beneficial? Are your dating requirements realistic? And oftentimes people simply don't have realistic dating requirements. So what are your dating requirements? For somebody to take you out, what is your requirements when you first meet that person? How they should approach you? When you're going on that date, what are your requirements? Do you require that he pay for the meal? Do you require that you go Dutch? What are your requirements? Should he bring something or should he just come to you? What are your requirements? What are your dating requirements for a person to take you out? For you to get that phone number and go out with that person, what are your requirements? What's the requirements to go on a date? I'm not even going to get into the sex part. What's just the requirements to go on a date? Do he have to have a certain job, make a certain amount of money? Does he have to look a certain way? Does she have to dress a certain way? Does she have to talk a certain way? Does she have to act a certain way? You like that little thug but sort of elegant class woman? You like that sort of thug but, muscular type guy? What is it? What is it? What is it that you are looking for when you go on a date? What are your requirements? Now, the next thing is relationship goals. Because a lot of us get into relationships and we got these ideas, but we have these ideas and plans of what we want going forward in a relationship, but we don't really tell it to the other person. Or we're so busy trying to figure out the other person that we don't tell the truth about what our real intentions are in a relationship. What our real intentions are for a goal. Do you plan on having kids? Do you want to get married? Or do you just want to have a life partner? Do you want to just date around? You're not interested in a real relationship. What are your actual relationship goals? If you really sat down on pen and paper, not on the computer, well, I guess you can do it on a computer, but I think pen and paper makes you think more because you're actually writing it out. But when you sit down and you're actually putting down your relationship goals on pen and paper and you sit there and you go back and read them over, do you find that your relationship goals are realistic? Do you find that your relationship goals actually embody you and what you really need? Or are you just saying, oh, this is the stuff I want, but it's not what you need because the things you're putting down for a relationship goal is not really, like we go back to the word again, realistic. So what are your relationship goals? Are you dating people with the same relationship goals as you? And then we go back to the other point of, when people date, I always hear people say, oh, I met this person here. I met this person there. When people keep saying they're having bad relationship experiences, I always ask them, where do you meet people? And I'm surprised at how many people say they meet people in the same place. I meet people in the bars. I go out to bars. I go out to clubs. I go to strip clubs. You know, I know some strippers who say, I keep meeting the same type men because they're dating men who come in the strip club area. Those are the guys that they're dating. And they keep saying it never works out with them. Okay. Well, that could just be because you probably need to change your pool. And you got to think about something. If you're meeting a man or a woman and it's in the same venue and you keep having the same experience, that means you need to step out of that box because that box has got a bunch of rotten apples. Now, I'm not saying there's not some good people that go to clubs, bars, or strip clubs, but does that really make sense to keep going back to the same box and you keep getting rotten apples? You may need to explore what are your other things you enjoy doing that well, you may be able to meet somebody outside of that. So that's the thing about it is like, where are you meeting people? And are you basing everybody on your poor relationship choices for picking men based on the fact that you got this one little box you keep picking for, but you put in every man in that same box. You put in every woman in that same box. It doesn't work like that. That's your fault for going back to that same box and picking them same rotten apples. But now you're bad mouthing and posting stuff on social media about how bad men are, how bad women are. No, you're making bad choices because you're picking the wrong bad box. If you see a box of watermelon and all the watermelons are spoiled, why are you going to keep buying watermelons from that box? I don't understand. Mangoes, peaches. Find a box that's not filled with so many rotten and spoiled fruit, then you can eat good somewhere. You know what I'm saying? But we're asking the question, are relationships bad or are people just impatient? When we come back, I'm going to give you my answer.
We'll be back with your host, Reggie, on Simply Straight Talk.
Hey, this your man Reggie here. Are you looking for some fresh new music? Are you looking for an artist that's got that positive vibe and that positive flow, that knows how to flow lyrically? Then man, you need to check out Tone G Music with songs like Buzzing, Good Deeds, and Pick Up the Phone. Now these songs are available on Apple Music and other digital platforms. Tone G brings that positive vibe in everything he does. And the music he brings with the reggae style and that smooth lyrical flow, oh, you know what to do. Y'all check out Tone G Music.
Like what you hear so far? Make sure you never miss a show by clicking the subscribe button now. This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you for your support. Now back to the show.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the final thoughts of today's show. Today we asked the question, are relationships bad or are people just impatient? I don't think relationships are bad. I think people choose the wrong people and they get in bad relationships. But honestly, I think the main reason that people get in bad relationships because people are impatient. They're impatient about taking the time to really build and get to know the other person because we have expectations, we have requirements, and we have goals that we don't take time to fully share with that other person. And then we always have the dishonesty part of the whole thing when it comes to getting to know somebody, where people don't fully disclose what their intentions are, or their intentions are really just for sex and not really for a relationship. So when it comes to relationships, it's not relationships, it's people. And people are impatient. And especially in today's day and age, people really do want everything right now. You know, people want that magical job and they're giving you 2 months to get that magical job, although the schooling takes you 2 years to complete to be certified to do that job. And, you know, men and women have also gotten into the place to where now everybody's about them. Relationships are about them. It used to be a time when men would say, you know, I'm just trying to get it. I'm just trying to get it. Now we're at a point where we got some women who are actually out there saying, listen, I'm just trying to get mine. If he get his, that's on him. If he don't get his, that's on him. Y'all know what I'm saying. But the point is, have we put aside relationship values? Have we put aside the things we really believe in that makes us want to be with somebody, that we are trying to build something long term? Or are we just being satisfied for the moment just to get what we feel we need right now? We have become a very impatient society. And I understand everything going on with the pandemic, people being closed in, not being able to really get out. Hopefully this time has made you be able to sit back and kind of think about what is it you really want in your life when it comes to a relationship, and being honest with the fact that I don't want somebody in my life 24 hours. I just want a friends with benefits. I just want somebody I can hang out with and kick it with. Or I just want somebody that I can really and truly invest my time in, and they do the same with me. Being on the same page is so important and so key. So to sum it up, yes, I think people are very impatient these days when it comes to relationships. They're moving very fast. And like I said, they're picking apples from the same box of rotten apples, and they're blaming it all on the fact that it's the relationship and not their choices. So, hey, thank you guys for listening, man. You guys be cool. Y'all stay strong. Thank you for your continued support. And don't forget to join us next Friday with another episode. And yes, we got Miss Angelique Franklin coming back, and she has a topic that she's actually, it's a lot about her you don't know, but you're going to find out. We're going to talk about it next week. And of course, we got to bring Miss Melissa back. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, y'all stay with us, man, and we will check y'all out next week.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Simply Straight Talk podcast. Make sure you visit our website at rmviagem.com, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Libsyn, SoundCloud, or Spotify, so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in the show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes, or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that will help us out too. Thank you, and see you next week.